stupid. I'm not gonna let you get the chance.
BoKuroKawa Part 3. Saturday 14th, 7:20 a.m. Seriously, again. Waking up from his dream, BoKuto looked around the cuddle pile he was squashed in. With a groan, BoKuto felt someone shift around his head. Looking over, he found Oikawa curled around his head. Looking over his shoulder, as he was laying on his stomach, BoKuto found Kuro laying over his back, Kuro's legs tangled with his own, and his cheek pressed into his lower back, arm flung over BoKuto's behind. What's so good about my ass, that you guys always have to touch it any time we're sleeping? The only answer he got was a loud snore coming from Oikawa. BoKuto chuckled and rested his head back down on Oikawa's thigh he was using as a pillow. Because, it's freaking comfy. Oh, you're awake now, Kuro grumbled in answer, stretching out like a cat as he was waking up too. Looking up from his comfortable pillow made of BoKuto's lower back, Kuro looked at Oikawa. He's still asleep. Yeah, I think I felt him wake up a few times to get a drink of water or go to the bathroom, but he's been asleep for a while. Good, he needs it. What do I need? Oikawa quickly intercepted their conversation, easily startling the two other captains. They blushed lightly and looked up to a sleepy Oikawa gazing down at them in curiosity. Nothin', just some sleep. Yeah, those bags under your eyes are the color of Kuro's hair. Oikawa gasped in fake hurt and placed the hand he wasn't laying on over his heart in dramatics. I'll have you know, that I am rocking these eye bags. Thank you very much. They all snickered and slowly started to get up, some more reluctantly than others. Oikawa's eyes glazed over as he absently watched Kuro and BoKuto nuzzled into each other while sitting side to side. Kuro stretched with his arms held high, shirt riding up. Oikawa caught a glimpse of sculpted abs, blushing when the thought of running his hands over them flashed behind his eyes. He looked away as to not be spotted, but he didn't miss the way BoKuto nuzzled into Kuro's chin and Kuro's smile. BoKuto smiled evilly and Kuro stared in apprehension and slowly scooted away when BoKuto coiled up ready to strike. Kuro yelped when BoKuto lunged forward and tackled him onto the mattress and started tickling him. Kuro would be lying if he said he wasn't ticklish, so no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't hold in the scream-like laugh he let out when BoKuto reached his sides. Oikawa watched in mild interest as Kuro started kicking aimlessly, trying to dislodge BoKuto from his vantage point straddling Kuro's hips. He turned to grab his phone to check the time, but squeaked when a stray kick on Kuro's part sent him flying off the bed. BoKuto and Kuro froze, the latter trying to catch his breath in soft panted breaths, as they watched the place Oikawa descended off the mattress. A single hand came from the depths and grasped at the stray blankets and hawed the rest of what was attached onto the bed. A disheveled Oikawa cleared at the two others who gulped in fear as an evil smile came over Oikawa's face. The boy was quick to grab a pillow at the head of the bed and raise over his head. BoKuto and Kuro let out a scream as Oikawa started assaulting them with his pillow. Oikawa got onto the bed quickly and kneeled over the cowering boys as they tried to shield themselves from the onslaught of Oikawa's rage. Mercy. Please. We're sorry. Uncle. Uncle. Humph. With their cries of desperate pleas and mercy, Oikawa relented. Sitting back on his calves, the three panted and tried to catch their breath. Remind me to never challenge you to a pillow fight, or any kind of fight which includes projectiles. Oikawa smirked and threw the pillow back to where it was before he picked it up. He didn't miss the flinch both of them had when it was tossed, but he couldn't find it in himself to feel sorry for them. Damn straight. I'm gonna get a shower in and make breakfast. With his parting words, Oikawa grabbed some of his clothes. Kuro kindly let him put in some of his dresser drawers and retreated to the bathroom, a victorious sway in his hips. BoKuto and Kuro couldn't pull their eyes away till Oikawa was around the corner and out of eyesight. The two huffed and decided to get ready as well, no worries shared as they got dressed next to each other. It's not like they haven't seen each other naked before since they've been at numerous matches against each other at schools that required them to share a bathroom. Though they have shared a bathroom before, Kuro could never stop the urge to slap BoKuto's ass to see if it jiggles. Now that they are dating, Kuro couldn't find a reason not to. When Kuro was done sliding some jeans on, he raised his hand and smacked it right on BoKuto's right cheek. Hey. BoKuto yelped as he cradled his stinging ass in his hands as he half glared and half pouted at Kuro who was smirking with a glint in his eyes. Kuro reached up and squished BoKuto's cheeks in one hand, keeping BoKuto's lips in a pout even when he tried to pull away. Kuro couldn't control himself and leaned in, kissing BoKuto on his pouty lips. BoKuto squeaked but didn't pull away, even as Kuro let go of his chin and cupped BoKuto's cheek. Rather, he leaned in further and deepened the kiss. BoKuto surged forward in an act of courage and pressed his chest in Kuro's, letting one of his hands travel to Kuro's abs to trace the hard muscle. Kuro shuddered, groaning in the kiss and gripped BoKuto's waist, pulling him even closer. BoKuto and Kuro kissed each other breathless, turning their heads at different angles to see which one would get them the closest. BoKuto grabbed Kuro's shoulders and went to push him to the bed when emotionless clearing of the throat alerted the both of the boys. BoKuto and Kuro looked over towards the door and sweat dropped when they saw Oikawa leaning against the door frame. Oikawa rose a brow and cleared his throat again, watching as the blushing boys separated and nervously fidgeted. I leave you alone for like, what? 15 minutes? Geez, you horn dogs, next time lock the door or something. I don't want to walk in on something I'd rather not see. BoKuto deflated and nodded. Kuro looked at BoKuto in curiosity on why it was so easy for him to submit like that. Kuro turned to Oikawa with a grimace. What? Me and BoKuto were just having some fun. You the sex police now? Remember whose house this is. You're just jealous of us because Iwajimi never even thought of doing this with you. Kuro froze the instant the words poured from his mouth. He stared, horrified, as Oikawa looked at him, a look of betrayal shining in his eyes. Kuro felt even guiltier when a single tear slid past by Oikawa's eyelids as the boy turned and walked out of the room. Oh god. I didn't mean that. Shit, Oikawa. A hand was set on his shoulder and he turned to see BoKuto shake his head with sad eyes. Kuro went to call to him, but his throat closed up when BoKuto walked out of the room and towards the way Oikawa had run off to. Fuck. I didn't mean it. I'm so sorry. Toro. Time skip. 8:37 a.m. The soft creak of the hardwood floors grabs Kuro's attention away from his self-decrypting thoughts. His bloodshot eyes found soft and apprehensive hazel hues. Kuro quickly got up and went towards Oikawa with an apology on the tip of his tongue, but Oikawa cut him off before he could spew his pleas in forgiveness. I shouldn't have cut into your business with BoKuto. I'm sorry for being rude when you two were doing whatever you wanted. You're right, by the way, I'm a guest and shouldn't be so rude. Oikawa gasped when strong and lithe arms wrapped around his waist and pulled him into an equally hard yet soft chest. Kuro sniffles and held Oikawa close as he shook his head into the boy's hair. He sniffles again before starting up, his voice clogged with snot and unshed tears. It wasn't your fault. I should be the one that's sorry. I shouldn't have snapped like that. I'm so sorry. You weren't rude, or invasive, or demanding. Will you forgive me? Oikawa sniffles too and nodded his head into Kuro's chest and leaned into the warm touch. Kuro smiled and held Oikawa close, running his hand through the boy's still damp hair. The two let out sounds as the air was pushed out of both of their lungs as BoKuto held them both in his arms and hugged them tightly. BoKuto. Ha ha ha. Bo-chan. You're crushing me. Yeah. With love. They all laughed and relaxed into each other, getting comfortable in each other's embrace. Kuro looked over Oikawa's head that was tucked into his throat and saw the date that was on the calendar and got the best idea. Hey guys. What do you think about a trip to the carnival that should open today? That sounds amazing. I would have guessed that's something you'd be interested in. What about you, Oikawa? It's better than being under house arrest. They all laughed at Oikawa's joke and decided that was that. They got dressed into some casual clothes. Oikawa was flabbergasted that Kuro and BoKuto would be willing to go out like such monstrosities and declared himself the new clothes assignee. Looking over themselves in the mirror, Oikawa boasted about his ability to make things that normally don't match with even more swagger to spare. They looked at themselves in the mirror and BoKuto even went to the lengths of posing ridiculously to make them laugh. We look awesome. We look hella hot. Oikawa working his magic yet again. Oh please. You two are hopeless cases. I couldn't go out and be seen with you two wearing what you wear. My reputation would be ruined. Bokuto and Kuro chuckled, knowing Oikawa's little rant didn't have any heat behind it since the blush on his cheeks spoke for him instead. Oikawa turned around to look at himself in the mirror yet again as Bokuto and Kuro looked him and themselves over. After they finished getting ready and grabbing any extra snacks they needed so they could eat before, during, and after the festival, they got into Kuro's car. Oikawa made sure to place the sandwiches he made them in the cooler along with a few sodas of choice and some water bottles. The chips, gummies, and other snacks were stashed in bags in the trunk as well. Oh. Can I put on some music? The last time I let you have the music, you played Pumped Up Kicks on repeat. All the other drivers were looking at me like I was insane while you were screeching in the passenger seat. OMG, ha ha ha. You let Bokuto play that. I didn't know he would pick that song. If I had known I wouldn't have let him. Hey. It's a good song. Not for a car ride on repeat. Besides, the next time you really like a song, look up the lyrics Bo-chan. Bokuto huffed but quieted. Kuro laughed and Oikawa soon followed. Oikawa rolled down his window, as did the other two, and let the wind blow their hair around while they got to the carnival. Kuro parked and they all got out. The three opened the cooler and sat in the trunk while eating half of their sandwiches and drinking some water. After finishing and putting their stuff away, they made their way to the ticket booth and paid for 3 bracelets. When have they ever been that expensive? No kidding, the last time I was here was when I was a kid. But they were still, like, 500 yen. Now look at the price. Just for all 3 of us it took 2,000 yen. Geez. It's probably because they're selling a lot of them and wanted to make a profit. I mean, I can't blame them, but seriously. I'd hate to see a large family paying for bracelets. The 3 of them shuddered at the image of such a big expense. Nonetheless, let's have some fun, shall we? Yeah. The trio walked around the carnival, going in a clockwise way so they don't miss anything. Bokuto challenged Kuro at the carpet slide and the latter couldn't pass up a challenge. Oikawa stayed at the bottom to see which one would win. The announcer called them up and they got ready. Once they got the green, Kuro shot down the slides and arrived at record time. He went to ask Oikawa who won when he saw his friend trying to hold in a laugh. Looking up, he couldn't hold in the cackle. Bokuto had gotten stuck at the top of the slide, pouting when the employee had to help him dislodge. Oikawa and Kuro were on the ground laughing by the time Bokuto slowly slid down to the bottom with an angry pout. Oh my god. That was amazing. Ha 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 ha, how do why you get stuck? He. Bokuto wouldn't stop pouting till they got to the ring tosses and Kuro had to let him win. Bokuto was elated that he got to pick a giant owl stuffed animal and proudly showed Hoot off to his friends. Oikawa easily won at the dart challenge, so the 2 others made a silent promise to never get on Oikawa's bad side again. It was a few hours into the day and the 3 went back to the car to eat some more of their snacks and drinks, and to put Hoot away. Back at the carnival, Oikawa dragged Kuro and Bokuto to the magic carpet ride. Or the Aladdin, whatever you want to call it. Bokuto and Oikawa were having the time of their life while Kuro almost got sick. Bokuto took the others to the alien ship. Oikawa had sparkles in his eyes as he set eyes on it and immediately got into line. Kuro prayed silently for his safety as the ride began and spun around. Oikawa and Bokuto sat up on the wall since it was spinning so quickly and they made a bet to see who could get the highest while Kuro kept his eyes closed the whole time. When the ride ended, Kuro stumbled to the trash can and threw up his lunch. Oikawa and Bokuto felt instantly bad about dragging Kuro with them, so Bokuto went to go get a water bottle while Oikawa soothed his friend. Sorry about that Tetsu-chan. I should have seen you were getting sick. It's fine. He coughed. I probably should have brought my motion pills. Volleyball and driving are fine, but festival rides that spin quickly just do something to my stomach. Oikawa pouted. Still, it's not your fault, Oikawa. I suggested going and I forgot my pills. It's not either your or Bokuto's fault. Bokuto quickly came back over to them and handed Kuro a water bottle. The latter drank some and spat it out to try and get the leftover taste out of his mouth, then drank the rest. Thanks, Bo. No problem, bro. Oikawa watched silently as Bokuto planted a small kiss on Kuro's temple. Kuro smiled and stood up, coughing a little and then motioned for them to continue. They went back to the car so Kuro could have some food in his stomach so he wouldn't be hungry. After a few chips, grapes, and a water they went back inside. It was dark at this point, so they went to the Ferris wheel for their last ride. Seriously, the Ferris wheel? That's so cheesy. Besides, I don't really want to be there when you two try to eat each other's face off. Aw, come on. It'll be fun, I promise. Yeah. We'll get to see the horizon, too. It'll be so pretty. Oikawa sighed and nodded, being pulled towards the Ferris wheel by his friends. When the employee helped them into a cart, Oikawa took the seat to the left while Bokuto and Kuro took a seat across from him. The cart started to move and they slowly started to go up and back around. When they were about to go down for their third and final spin, the Ferris wheel suddenly stopped. Oikawa groaned and leaned his head back, then leaned forward again so he could look over the side of the cart and silently smiled as he watched all the lights from their town sparkle in the horizon. This is so cheesy, but pretty at the same time. When he didn't get an answer, Oikawa looked over at his friends and found them oddly fidgeting and looking down. Kuro? Bokuto? Is something wrong? Nothing's wrong, Oikawa. It's just, you were right about this being a little cheesy. I know I'm right, but what am I right about? Bokuto fishes something out of his jacket pocket and held up a bag with something in it. Oikawa looked at it a little closer and froze, eyes widening, and a hand covering the lower half of his mouth. You brought it in a plastic bag. I couldn't find anything else to put it in. You could have asked. There's a perfect box underneath the bathroom vanity. Well, I didn't know. A sob got to two bickering lovers to look over at their friend. Oikawa was trying to hold back his tears as his gaze was locked on the plastic bag still being held up by Bokuto. Said boy smiled and opened the bag, taking out the context inside. I thought I lost it. Bokuto held up his necklace. The necklace Iwazumi got him for either an anniversary or confession present. But that wasn't here nor there at the moment. All he could do was cry as he gazed at the necklace glowing in the light of the moon. What drew his attention the most was the newest additions to it. A small ruby and another small diamond hung around Oikawa's turquoise stone. His tears flowed freely as he glanced between Kuro, Bokuto, and the necklace. We found a picture of you with this on when we were getting your stuff so you could stay at my house. Apparently Iwazumi snuck it back so he could give it to the bitch. Oikawa chuckled at the nickname, but remained silent. We wanted to give this back, with a little something extra for you to remember us by. And with this, I hope you recognize our feelings. Oikawa froze. Feelings. Yes, feelings. Ever since that training camp, me and Bokuto have always felt a pull towards you. I think it was just a matter of time before something brought us together. Even though I'm not a man that believes in fate, I still think this was meant to be. Bokuto nodded and smiled brightly, rivaling the moon. He's right. Every time we saw you, it was so hard to keep our feelings for you to ourselves because you were with Iwazumi. But now, after some time of letting you heal, we wanted to ask if you'd be our boyfriend. Be boyfriend? But you're already together. We are, yes. To be honest, it was a spur-of-the-moment decision. But we also realize we've felt something towards each other for years, but we would like you to be with us. Oikawa stayed silent and looked to the floor of the cart, thinking it over. It had been some time of silence and Bokuto frowned. Looking at Kuro who was deflating by the second, he turned to Oikawa to clarify. You don't have to, of course. If we're being too forward too early, then that's our mistake. You can always say no. Yo, you idiots. Oikawa lunged forward and hugged Kuro and Bokuto close. He shivered and cried into their shoulders as Kuro and Bokuto wrapped their arms around Oikawa's to pull him closer. Oikawa turned his head to Kuro and kissed his cheek, turning to Bokuto to do the same. Shucks. Kuro chuckled and grabbed the necklace from Bokuto so the boy could hug Oikawa fully. Bokuto laughs as Oikawa sniffles and nuzzled into the former's chin. Bokuto kissed Tora's temple as Kuro clips the necklace in place. Oikawa looks up at them and touches the necklace as he blushes. His eyes widen again as Bokuto and Kuro hold up their right wrists to show off their ruby and diamond bracelets respectively to the necklace. Oikawa sobs and cries harder, holding on to his boyfriend's shoulders. Bakas. Ha 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 ha, he he he. Tora leans up and kisses Bokuto on the lips, the latter making a squeak sound before smiling and kissing back with joy. Oikawa pulls away, then leans for Kuro, the ravenette, meeting the brunette halfway and kissed him too. Toru sniffles and leans back to cuddle up to Bokuto as Kuro and Bokuto share a kiss as well. When the two part, the Ferris wheel starts to move again, sending them down towards the ground. Oikawa quickly sits up and wipes away the tears, blushing when Kuro and Bokuto kiss them away for him. Their cart stops and the three file out. The employee gives them a smirk, then a thumbs up, making Oikawa want to drift off into orbit. Kuro and Bokuto chuckle as they guide him to the parking lot and towards Kuro's car. With the remote in hand, Kuro unlocked the car. Oikawa. All three of the trio turned to look at whoever called out to them. Oikawa looked up from past Bokuto's chest and gasped at who he saw, nails making crescent shapes in Bokuto's bicep, who tried to hide the wince. Kuro growled under his breath and Bokuto wrapped an arm around Oikawa's waist as Iwazumi, Matsunkawa, and Hanamaki come running over to them. Oikawa tenses but quickly hides behind Bokuto and Kuro, though the two make sure to keep a hand on him in support. Kuro looks down at his new lover, then scowls back at Iwazumi. Hey, man. We haven't seen you in a while. Where have you been? Are you okay? We were worried. Oikawa peeked out from behind Bokuto's shoulder as he looked over his other two best friends while answering some of their questions. Kuro stood in front of Oikawa, shielding him from view as Iwazumi tried to get around him, but otherwise was silent. Kuro stepped in front of him again, cutting him off. Can I help you? Yeah, I want to speak with my boyfriend. He's not your boyfriend anymore. You lost every right a long time ago. Matsunkawa and Hanamaki shared a surprised look between each other and then to Oikawa, who had hidden behind Bokuto, who took up answering questions. What's he mean by that, Oikawa? An awkward silence washed over them. They were sharing looks that spoke instead of their mouths. Kuro and Bokuto share a look, which Iwazumi took advantage of and sidestepped Kuro to look at Oikawa. Could I please talk to you? No. No. Fine. Oikawa. Are you sure? Oikawa nodded, but it was hesitant. Kuro frowned and Bokuto pouted but let go of him so Oikawa could go up to Iwazumi. Kuro looked at Bokuto in surprise, but Bokuto shrugs at him. I think Iwazumi should get a chance to get whatever is on his shoulders off. But if he does anything, I promise Kuro, we will handle it. Kuro grumbles but nods, watching as Oikawa leads Iwazumi to the front of the car so they were still in Kuro and Bokuto's eyesight, but spoke in whispers. What do you want, Iwazumi? Iwazumi froze at the lack of nickname, but dredged on. I wanted to apologize. Oikawa's eyes widen. Really? Iwazumi nodded. What I did and said was horrible. I see that now. I wanted to say I was sorry. Thank you, Iwazumi. I really needed that. Iwazumi hums. What I did was unforgivable, but... Oikawa's eyes furrowed. What, Iwazumi? Spit it out. Could I have a second chance? Another chance at being a better boyfriend, please. Toru's eyes widened and he took a step back, shaking his head. Iwazumi followed him. Please. I want to be better for you. I just need another chance. You mean a 23rd chance? Please. Come on. We're childhood friends, that should mean something to you. Kuro and Bokuto look over at the raised voices. Kuro going to take a step forward but Bokuto held him back with a grip on his elbow. No. You already had your chances. It doesn't matter if we were friends when we were 6. Oikawa sniffles as he feels another round of tears pooling in his eyes. It seems childhood friends aren't as they all crack up to be. Oikawa turns to walk over towards Kuro and Bokuto, but was stopped when a hand grabbed his bicep and pulled him back. Toru yelped when he lost footing when he was turned and froze when he felt a pair of chapped lips press into his glossed own. He froze, crying silently as Iwazumi kissed him. Oikawa could barely react when he heard a growl behind him, then Iwazumi was sprawled out on the ground, clutching his nose and Bokuto standing in front of Oikawa as Kuro held the boy close to his chest. You fucking coward. Wait. Iwazumi could barely get anything out before Bokuto was back on him. Kuro quickly hid Oikawa behind his back and gestured for Matsunkawa and Hanamaki to help Oikawa into the car. His friends guided him away while Kuro pulled Bokuto away from the bleeding spiker. When Kuro finally got BoKuto off, he couldn't stop himself from delivering a kick of his own. Kuro and BoKuto passed Matsunkawa and Hanamaki to get into the car. Kuro got into the driver's seat while BoKuto got in the back with Oikawa to check up on him. Kuro pulled out of the parking spot and sped off, leaving the other three by themselves. BoKuto held the fuming Oikawa close as Tora cried into BoKuto's shoulder and banged his fist softly into the other's pack. Kuro would occasionally look in the rearview mirror to check on them while driving home. Once in the driveway, Kuro got out and BoKuto helped get Oikawa out too. Kuro opened the door with a key and watched as his boyfriends walked in behind them, locking the door afterwards. Kuro guided the two towards the couch and sat them on the cushions while he got some water and snacks even though they were full from the festival. BoKuto sat on Oikawa's right while Kuro came back with the food and sat on the left. Setting the food down, Kuro looked over and cupped Oikawa's cheek. Leaning forward, Kuro started to peck Oikawa's face and BoKuto followed suit. "Gee guys, Q quit it, ha ha ha." Tora giggled while Kuro and BoKuto kissed him repeatedly and even blew raspberries on his cheeks and neck. Their little show of affection had Oikawa giggling and fidgeting around till he called mercy and flopped on his boyfriend's laps. He caught his breath while Kuro and BoKuto smiled at him in a love-filled gaze. BoKuto leaned down to peck Oikawa's forehead while Kuro grabbed the remote and pulled up Alien so they could watch the movie. "I love you, guys. You're the best. We love you too, Oikawa." BoKuto grabbed the blanket over the cushions of the couch and spread it over them. Kuro and Oikawa nibbled on some popcorn while BoKuto had some chips. They slowly started to fall asleep from exhaustion till they all curled up on the couch they would regret in the morning, just not at the moment. Oikawa looked up from his place being curled up by Kuro and BoKuto, smiling widely as he leaned in to nuzzle into Kuro and BoKuto's cheeks before sighing in contempt and falling asleep too. Final part to the BoKuroKawa series. I really hope you enjoyed the final part of this series. Thank you so much for being here on this journey with BoKuroKawa, and I'll be back with the next video. If you have any ideas, feel free to comment this. See you later, comments.